Hello. Alright, with that intro cliche out of the way, hello and welcome back to Creativity Vault. Seeing as it's been a while, you might be asking the question, what is this? I am a man cursed with a lot of ideas, but I'm always missing either the time, the resources, or just simply the effort to turn these ideas into reality. As such, Creativity Vault is the only major avenue for these ideas to finally escape my brain and be shown to the world. This is the first episode, since I count the previous one to be more of a pilot than an episode. As such, this episode had to be good. And so, we'll be talking about Raddies. Also, just a quick aside, I'm recording after the fact. Most of the Creativity Vault episodes will be split into sort of categories. This is big stories, small stories, and miscellaneous. Raddies is a textbook big story, so if you haven't already, you might want to grab a snack. Without further ado, let us talk about Raddie. Chapter 1. What is a Raddie? Well, this is easy enough to explain. Let's talk about the basic idea of Raddies. Raddies would have been a point-and-click Five Nights at Freddy's fan game, set in the mid-2000s England, starring a blue animatronic suit-wearing rat. There's also a green lion, purple snake, pest-themed band starring a grey pigeon, brown mole, and red hedgehog. You still following? You clicked off the video yet? Alright, good. Because on top of that, there's a second blue animatronic rat, this one containing a dead body inside. And on top of that, there's a bunch of humans, competing restaurants, artificial intelligence, guilt, betrayal, and Kanye West. Chapter 2. How did we get here? Raddies is a bit bloated, considering that it doesn't have a single game to show for. So I'm gonna have to ask the question, how did we get here? And to do that, we have to go all the way back to October 23rd, 2014, when a certain theory channel that I had subscribed to for a Sonic video made a video on this weird little indie game called Five Nights at Freddy's. Instantly, my hyperfixation gears were set into overdrive, as I began to consume all the content I could find. Over the next 6 years or so, I would consume all the FNaF content presented before me. FNaF theories? Sure. FNaF fan songs? Why not? FNaF fan games? Definitely. FNaF YouTubers? I'm sure nothing could go wrong there. Anyways, the point is I was consuming everything and anything FNaF that I could, find. And with my creative, albeit undeveloped mind running on overdrive, small ideas began to drift around, and before you could blink, there was... Ugh! What is that? So yeah, you couldn't tell I wasn't the greatest at actually expressing the ideas I had. As we travel forward in time, the ideas and the quality of how they were portrayed begins to slowly get better. And then there's the incident. Around 2016, the original idea of Raddies, a restaurant of 6 animatronic animals set in 2004 Britain, had lost its charm in my mind. And so the plot shifted to a slightly edgier, sister location styled story, wherein a corpse gets used to create artificial intelligence, with you being the 31st iteration of this exact thing. But then, I wanted to revisit the restaurant idea, but instead of an animatronic rat, there's a polar bear, who may or may not have been a hastily painted Freddy Fazbear, and at this point we've reached 2018, where I realized there was nothing I could do that would be technically new or original. We had one story about an animatronic rat business, one story about a polar bear business, and one story about artificial intelligence brought to life by a corpse. And so logically, I shouted, "F*** it!" and threw all 3 ideas into a blender, creating a massive but somehow non-convoluted story. It becomes a story about a single incident snowballing into a story of death, betrayal, grief, and underpaid teenage workers. Now, to explain the entire Raddies lore would require a lot of MS Paint sketches, and probably add about 5 minutes onto the video's runtime. Chapter 3. Raddies Lore. Alright, let's do this. And by this, I mean just the important bits to the first game, since anything more than that would push this video's runtime so long I would not make the very tight October deadline. Alright, so it all starts in 1977 when these 2 dudes, Edward and Harrison, go to the United States to Fredbear's place, and they decide they're going to make their own Springlock bear-based restaurant in the UK. In 1978, they begin building the suit, and then ask William Afton if it's cool to open a UK Fredbear's. Realizing that he can't travel to the UK and kill kids like he does in the US restaurants, he says no. Left with a half-finished yellow bear, they paint it blue, give it some different details, and call it a rat. Raddie is born. In 1979, they opened Raddies Bowling, with Harrison focusing more on business and engineering, and Edward focusing more on entertaining the disgusting children and marketing. Unlike most Springlock-based restaurants, the suit is actually well designed, with it being built around the hand crank, stopping Edward from becoming human Swiss cheese. While all of this is happening, Harrison's son, try saying that 3 times fast, Arthur, meets a lady named Sarah, and in 1983, the two have a child named Timothy, or Tim for short. Only a year later, and after the bite of 83 puts a dent on old Willie Affer's murder budget, William Afton comes to the UK demanding royalties or threatening a lawsuit. Knowing the suit is different enough to be legally distinct, the two decline to give him royalties, and basically invite him to take them to court. William Afton gets angry, knowing he can't win, swaps out the strong hand crank for a very weak one, and in 1984, this timeline takes its first life, as Edward is skewered. After seeing his best friend and business partner die violently, Harrison hides the evidence in a wall and closes the restaurant. Edward possesses the Ratton suit, but lies dormant, believing his friend betrayed him. Fast forward 5 years to 1989, and Arthur and Sarah decide to use the abandoned restaurant as the basis for their own restaurant, which is bigger and better, purchasing a neighbouring abandoned burger shop, which was abandoned due to unrelated rat infestations. Arthur, the businessman, and Sarah, the mechanic, work together to create a merry band of 3 to carry this restaurant to stardom. These 3 are the new Raddie, a fun-loving yet intelligent business rat, Lara, an adventurous lion with a jacket of leather and a heart of gold, and Sam, a purple snake. He's also a businessman, but honestly, what kind of business is he going to do with no arms? By 1991, Raddie's Burgers and Bowling was up and running, with a mom and pop at the helm and 3 cartoonishly cool characters in the restaurant. The next decade goes off with very little problems, with the only one of note being that time that Raddie's waist joint malfunctioned and he turned into a human Beyblade, but other than that, the 90s go very well for Raddies. However, this all changes in 2002, when a long-dormant Ratton in the walls finally wakes up. After hearing a voice he believes to be Harrison, Ratton breaks out of his dry-walled prison and kills the first person he sees, who is unfortunately a minimum-wage teenage worker, Noah. And Sarah comes to investigate, so Ratton game ends her too. And Arthur shows up, and Ratton, believing him to be Harrison, kills him before realizing,
"Oh, wait a second. You're not Harrison? This is a huge misunderstanding. Oh, wait, Rat, you're already dead."
Not wanting to be found, and retaining some memories and motor functions from when he was a man, he burns the restaurant down, escaping, but with major damage done to both the suit and about half the restaurant. It goes up in flames along with the animatronics and the corpses. Through the power of FNaF Fangames, the 3 souls fused with the 3 animatronics, giving us 4 total kills and 4 total haunted robots. Tim, who is 19 at this point, finds the charred corpses of both the animatronics and his parents. The worst part is yet to come, as not only will he have to deal with their souls haunting him, trying to warn him about Ratton, but he'll also have to reopen the restaurant by himself. Though luckily, some of Tim's college friends Oliver and Quentin, the latter being the younger brother of Noah, band together to reopen Raddies. This logically leads to Tim still doing 98% of the work. While Tim suffers through nightmares, the Raddies crew have been sent overseas to the United States, where they are being repaired in an animatronic warehouse along with other animatronics. As 2003 rages on, very janked up versions of Raddie, Lara, and Sam, and a plethora of other animatronics from the other restaurants harass a poor night guard until the Raddies crew is fixed and sent back to the UK for 2004, along with a new brand and a new set of characters called the Pest Pack. Arriving back in the UK, the status quo has changed. The Pest Pack were actually paid for before the fire, and so the budget for animatronic repair was not high enough to repair all 3 of the damaged animatronics, only about 1.5. As such, Raddie and Sam have been rebuilt, but Lara has only had some minor repairs. Joining Raddie and Sam are Peter the Pigeon, Harry Hedgehog, and Scottish Mole, Miranda Mole. In 2004, the restaurant reopens as new Raddie's Burgers and Bowling, and with this Furious 5 and a 6th member in the back half fixed and unable to perform, this is gonna be really bad for a night guard. As you might expect from that last sentence, things are getting funky. Raddie, Sam, and Lara are showing textbook signs of being possessed, and the Pest Pack, who shouldn't have any dead bodies inside them, are acting possessed too. This is because Noah, the soul possessing Sam, has managed to essentially split his soul into the other animatronics, meaning that of the 6 animatronics in the restaurant, all 6 are possessed. Logically, a very tired Tim doesn't know how to deal with this. This is where Quentin and Oliver finally do something important. As Quentin does restaurant cleaning and general maintenance, Oliver handles animatronic repair, and a new person, Morgan, becomes the night guard. Playing throughout Raddies as both Quentin and Morgan, you would have seen the Raddies crew get considerably more aggressive over the week, holding them off in a pretty decently sized restaurant, where the only thing you have to defend yourself with is your insane ability to multitask. And also a door, flashlight, bunch of other things, but mainly, multitasking. I believe in you. As you might expect, there is actually a 7th animatronic in the restaurant. Ratten, who somehow managed to get back into the drywall, breaks out a second time, sending all the other animatronics into a frenzy never before seen. After 2 more nights of this, you and Oliver tamper with the animatronics, resulting in all 6 burning out by 6 AM. With all of the 6 animatronics subdued, you can finally lure Ratten outside and immediately subdue the machine, putting it in the back of a pickup truck and driving off. If that seems like a weird ending, it admittedly is. But hey, how else are we supposed to get a follow-up story where Ratten is used as the basis for AI experiments? If you couldn't tell, the story is written in a way where it's purposely open-ended in some places. There's multiple points which could house their own games, and multiple stories that arguably are left to be elaborated on. Though unfortunately, I'll never see those other stories, since we didn't even see the first one. Also, hi, writer you in here, that was about 3 pages of lore. Whoopsie daisy. Anyway, let's move on to Chapter 4, The Beginnings of Raddies. We're not talking about the Bible. See, originally, Raddies would have been the first episode of Creativity Vault, coming out mid-2020. Admittedly, I'm glad it didn't, since I could do the project much more justice like this, but let's go over what happened to delay a video by over a year. In March of 2020, right as the world was beginning to collapse in on itself, I was posting everything I had made into a server. I can't show you the images because said server has been entirely vaporized off the internet, and quite frankly, I wouldn't want to go back there to begin with. Point is, a few people showed some mild interest in it and said they would help me with turning it into an actual game. Then after a week or so they all went quiet. I had essentially been coaxed into managing a fan game, then left to figure it out on my own. A logical person would have just called it quits there, cancelled it, and went back to the original plan. But I was not a logical person. Didn't mean I didn't try to fix the project. I managed to get a modeler, I managed to get a sound guy, I managed to get a coder, who we'll talk about later. By mid to late 2020, we had a fully functional gameplay system for all 7 characters. Chapter 5, Gameplay. The gameplay of Raddies was designed to actually provide a challenge. In general, there's a lot to do, but in such a way where you aren't overworked. There's only 3 entrances to the office, 1 ahead, 1 to the right, and 1 above. There's 5 locations in the office total. The corridor, the default view staring down a dark hallway. From this point, you can access the camera or shine the flashlight down said hallway. From here, however, you have 4 arrows, 1 on each side of the screen. 3 animatronics can appear in the hallway, these being Peter, Raddie, Ratten. However, Lara also appears in the hallway, albeit not visible from the office. When Lara charges, she bolts down the corridor, and the only way to survive is to flick down. Under the desk. Being under the desk only helps to deal with 2 animatronics. It's the only way of stopping Lara, and it's a somewhat effective counter to Ratten, although it is not, and this is important to note, not effective all the time. Flicking back up, and looking up, we see the vent. There is probably an air vent cover that should be there, but as there isn't, one of the animatronics, Miranda, has gotten into the vents. Ratten can also get in the vents, but Ratten can basically be anywhere at any time, so... While you could always wait for Miranda to be located directly above you and shine the flashlight until she inevitably leaves, this is a very risky play. The main method of stopping her involves flicking back down and to the left, where we see the audio lure. This is how you keep Miranda circulating around the vents. You need to lure Raddie away from the corridor with this, and it also allows you to lure Ratten basically anywhere. Finally, we flick to the right with the door. This door is where Harry, Raddie, and unsurprisingly Ratten show up. You simply need to press a button or close the door. Now, those more versed in fan games might point out that all you need to do is close the door and spam the lures and lights. This is where the usage mechanic comes in. See, flicking back to the camera, you might notice it's a laptop, and not just a laptop, a crap top. It can only handle about 1 or 2 things at once, and there is a cooldown period between turning one system off and another system on. The 4 systems you have to juggle are the camera, as without this you can't see where anyone is, which is a problem because you won't be able to identify when Lara is about to charge. The hall light, which is how you stop Peter, Raddie, and Ratton from advancing. The door, which stops Harry, Raddie, and Ratton from getting in. And the audio lures that keep Miranda and Ratton away. Balancing these 4 systems efficiently is the only way to win. But you might have noticed that of the 7 animatronics, only 6 are attacking. Where's our boy Sam? Sam is a somewhat passive enemy. He doesn't attack the player per se, he attacks the cameras. When he takes out a camera, you lose the ability to lure animatronics to that location for a set amount of time. You can't stop Sam, so you have to build around his patterns. All of these elements combine into a very single and tightly knit system which you have to learn if you want to stand a chance. Alright, we've talked about lore, gameplay, characters, how the project began. Alright, that's everything. Except for how the project that begins has to end. Let's talk about the person responsible for killing the rat. Any names used in this section are not the real names. If you don't want to hear about this person, skip to the time on screen, or use the chapters at the bottom. You ready? Okay, let's go. In around mid-2020, a person offered to help with the Raddies project. Being 15 at the time and well into the quarantine, I recklessly let this person onto the project without actually asking for proof they could code. It was reckless and stupid, but I was 15 and desperate. Contrary to what I was promising and expecting, the person did not code. They actually behaved aggressively towards other members of the project. Their attitude and behavior allowed them to pressure me into relinquishing control of the project, with threats of simply taking the project entirely if I removed them. Being stressed out of my mind in a lockdown, and pretty naive at the time, I allowed them to stay. Almost everyone they interacted with had unpleasant interactions with them. This person caused all other members of the project to burn out and essentially killed the project in its tracks. They screwed up a lot of people, and I couldn't stop it. All because I wanted a coder. We managed to cut them off eventually, but it was too late. Alright, let's bring the mood back up. That's how the project died, but what happened after? Chapter 7. The Aftermath of Raddies. Around January of 2021, Raddies finally crashed and burnt, mainly because of the coder being finally ostracized from the project, only to realize that they had pretty heavily ingrained themselves into it. But there were other factors that caused it as well. We aren't here to get all depressed though, and so let's talk about what ideas rose from the rubble of Raddies. There were a few ideas of what we could do with this carcass of a game. We debated making it into a VHS series, like you see every other person do. We debated making it into an elaborate RPG game that started off as an RPG horror, but just evolved into a regular, fun-loving RPG. Although the only important thing to come out of it was Van Goo. And well, it was this. This very video. The thing originally designed to introduce the project is now being used to finally close it out. So what did I learn from this project? Well, I learned basic game design and balancing skills for a FNaF-style game, which I'll never use again. I learned how you're supposed to manage a team, and related to that last one, I learned that you need to always vet the people you let onto a project. Jesus H. Christ, man. So, what was Raddies? Raddies was a FNaF Fangame concept, starring a blue animatronic rat and a plethora of other animatronic characters. It was born out of my love for a franchise that I no longer love. But for what it's worth, Raddies was pretty cool. Raddies.
Okay, screw this. I'm going in.
Huh? What is that, like a door or... Holy... Dude, what the hell?
Do you have any idea how long you've been in here?
Like 20 minutes?
A little higher.
50 minutes.
Bit higher than that.
2 days.
Close but no cigar. 3 weeks.
Oh, okay, wow. Time moves weird in this place.
Yeah, it does. Follow-up question. Do you remember why we put you in here?
Can't say I do, no.
Oh, okay, well, it involved a certain antivirus.
You are not putting that in my goddamn body.
Ooh, yeah, about that.
Ugh. Yeah, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, actually.
You've been refusing that for the better part of 5 weeks.
Yeah, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, so what?
I'm going to beat you to death.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Remember to check some of the people linked in the credits. They worked on this just as much as I did. Okay, maybe not, but like, you get what I mean, right?